Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my Super Smash Bros. 7 series. I'm OCDsaster, and yes, I said Super Smash Bros. 7, the next installment for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. It is number 7. A lot of people have argued with me in the past, but there are currently 6 Super Smash Bros. Games. Super Smash Bros. 64, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Smash Brawl, 3DS and Wii U are considered separate. Yes, that's right, separate games. Sakurai has said it himself. And then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So that is 6. So the new Smash Bros. Game would be, in fact, Super Smash Bros. 7. I've tried to do this series before and even featured a fellow friend and content creator, Obese Rob, on this series, but I decided to let it marinate a little bit longer and let time sit a little bit more before reattempting this series and kind of doing a more intellectual deep dive into it. Like a lot of my content and previous content, I kind of just did the series without any research, without looking into things, and for this new reamped, rebooted series, I still didn't do any research. I just learned a few more things that I felt were relevant to, you know, this topic and this conversation. We are going to be discussing 1, will there be a Super Smash Bros. 7 to begin with, and 2, would Sakurai come back to direct it, and if he does or does not, what that implies and what are the implications for that for the future of this franchise. Okay, got it? Don't forget to subscribe if you like this content, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't. Comment with some feedback and your opinions down below. Let's get into it. So the first question is there going to be a new Super Smash Bros? Super Smash Bros. 7? And to answer that, I would like to ask you a question. What do companies like and love?
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Money is what makes a company thrive and is super important and literally the lifeblood for it. And if they have a franchise, if they have an IP, if they have a product that is going to ensure them of more money, or at least the same revenue stream, they're going to do it. Meaning, Super Smash Bros. Is such a successful franchise that there's no way they're going to let it die with Sakurai's retirement, which we'll get into the second part of the question. They are going to milk this money cow until it is literally dried up. And that cow is nowhere near dried up yet because Nintendo has a lot of loyal fans, and Smash specifically has a lot of loyal fans where the product, the franchise, can keep going until the consumers get tired of it. Look at one of the most popular, if not the most popular, Nintendo product out there, Mario Kart. Mario Kart has been on every single system that Nintendo has made, and it has not died down in hype and players, and it brings in a truck ton of money. So there's no way that that series is ever going to go. Looking at this completely reliable Wikipedia article, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still the most copies sold for the Nintendo Switch. And I would like to reiterate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is not even a new Mario Kart game. Sure, they did some things to spice it up compared to Mario Kart 8 base for the Wii U, but they did not even create a new Switch Mario Kart, so to speak. And it still absolutely crushed the sales because of the title, because people know what it is, because it's a great party game, because Nintendo fans love it. Second is Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is a great single-player social simulation game where players can just veg out and just have that experience. But number 3 is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It beats out Breath of the Wild, it beats out Mario Odyssey, it beats out Pokemon, it beats out Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which actually is number 9 according to this Wikipedia article. Once again, I'm not completely sure how valid this article is, but going off of this alone, why would Nintendo not continue with the Super Smash Bros. Franchise if it's making them this much money? Copies sold equates to dollars, and dollars equate to stockholders and the executives of Nintendo being extremely happy. So I do not think in any chance in hell they're going to stop this money train from a choo-choo chugging along. So to answer that first part of my questions for this video, do I think there's going to be a Smash Bros. 7? Absolutely. I think there is a 100% chance that there is going to be a new Smash Bros. Game. My speculation is it is going to come out whenever we get this new Switch, the Switch 2, what people are calling it. And I think Nintendo, this is just a theory that I have, I believe Nintendo is really waiting for Switch 2 to unleash a lot of content. Now, when I say Switch 2, that's probably not going to be what the console's called. It's going to be called something completely different. But I think we're going to get some really big flagship IP sequels. We're going to get Smash 7. We're going to get maybe Mario Odyssey 2. Finally, a Mario Kart 9. The whole 9 yards. That's just a theory. I mean, a lot of people say that. It's not like something out of the blue. You know, it's a very common thought. But I definitely know we are getting another Smash Bros. 100%. No question about it. And that leads us to the second question. Will Sakurai come out of retirement in order to direct this Smash Bros. Game? For those of you that don't know, Sakurai has been the director of the Super Smash Bros. Series since its inception. He is the creator. He is basically the father to this franchise. It is his child. Now, you would say Kirby is his, firstborn because he is the creator of the Kirby franchise, but then Smash Bros. Would be his second child. And Sakurai has gone on the record in interviews and articles and such. He's done. He has retired. He's been creating video games for over 2 decades, I believe. His resume of the games he's made is amazing. And he's 53. I could have sworn he was younger than that. He at least looks younger than 53. My goodness. Anyway, he is retired and settled down with his cats, his wife, what have you. And it bears the question, would he come back for Super Smash Bros. 7 to direct that game? For those of you that don't know, when Sakurai was directing games, he was heavily involved. Like, he was not just the overseer of the project. Yes, he had his teams to, consult, and then, they used Bandai Namco for some of the games, and previous companies and game developers for previous games, outsourced, if you will, but he was heavily involved, down to character designs and even, move sets of characters. Like, he did it himself for the most part. He was a hard-working man, and there's plenty of documentaries out there that I would recommend you check out on this man as to how hardworking and driven he is. So, like I said, he's been making video games for over probably 2 decades, if my math is correct. It's about 2 decades, and by working those, that means he's really not stopped. He has not taken a break. He's very into the details. He's very, involved. So, what would make him come back? I mean, you could say money, but to be honest, it doesn't seem like he really needs the money. And Smash Bros. Was like his love letter to Nintendo fans. And to himself, almost, if you could make that argument. When he did his directs, he was very passionate, very funny, very charismatic. But you could kind of tell, like, he's like, okay, I'm excited that this is wrapping up. Ultimate was supposed to be his swan song, his Into the Forever, his This Is My Last Baby, here you guys go, everything, everyone's here, all at once, done. So it would almost be kind of, anticlimactic for him to then return for another game. Now, I'm not Sakurai, I'm not in his head, I don't know what he's thinking or what he does, I'm not the Sakurai whisperer. It's really up to him on whether or not he will come back to direct another Smash Bros. Game, let alone video game in general. A lot of the articles that I've read kind of imply this kind of semi-retirement narrative where he's like not fully retired, but he's definitely taking a back seat to video game directing. There was something that I saw that made it seem like that they already confirmed that they're not done with Super Smash Bros., that it's implied. I haven't really looked into these too much because I know them to be true, that they're going to continue with Super Smash Bros. It's just that Sakurai part that is a little bit iffy on whether or not he will come back for the next installment. My guess is if he does, there's only about a 45% chance. And you can quote me when I'm wrong. You can put in the comments down below, this aged like fine milk, whenever, you know, they announced Smash 7 and they announced that Sakurai is back out of retirement to make the game. But until then, I'm standing by that. And him not returning causes a snowball of questions and implications for Super Smash Bros. 7. So the next question, we've already answered the question, will there be a Smash 7? Yes. Will Sakurai be directing it? Probably no. We're then going to be using the probably no as the launch point for the rest of the series. So that way we can have bigger questions and more speculation on maybe even a completely different style of Smash Bros. Game we've never seen before. But for now, I wanted to talk about the features. Features I want to see, features that I think need to be improved on, stuff of that nature. And I want to know what you guys think. I want you guys to let me know what features you would like to see or be changed down in the comments below. So, what features would I like to see in a new Super Smash Bros. Game? I'm going to try to make this as least interesting to most interesting. So I'm just going to start off with a better UI system for the menus. Don't get me wrong, I really do appreciate the style choices that they have for Super Smash Bros. But I think as we've gotten more and more installments, the menus got more and more confusing. I mean, nothing's going to be as bad as Smash 4's menu, but I mean, come on. And I feel kind of bad because I believe Sakurai's wife did the designs for those menus, but it's kind of I don't know the exact extent in which she worked on them, because the design is fine. I like the way things look, I like the colors. It's just the organization and where they put things doesn't make quite much sense. Now, Relax did a video way back in the day on menus for Super Smash Bros. So I guess you could go watch his channel if you want to get in a more in-depth look into that. But I do think they need to organize the menus better in the future Smash Bros. And the UI of that nature. I still like the colors, I still like the pop, but I think the organization of Melee was probably the best, even though it wasn't perfect. Next is online matchmaking. Now listen, Nintendo's never going to have a really robust online system. They don't need to, because they know fans will just buy whatever crappy service they shuffle out, even though it's 5, 10, 15 years older than everything else that we're getting. So I'm not going to be hopeful in this regard, but there are certain aspects of the arena and how the arena is set up that I think could definitely be changed. I think it's very silly that you have to be queued in order to see a match if other people are fighting. You should be able to just jump in and spectate at whatever time. I don't know how they would implement that system, that's not my job, but I think it would be nice where if you're in an arena and you want to switch characters while two people are fighting, you can then hop in right afterwards. I think that's the biggest thing, along with online settings. I think can be more robust and specific, especially when you're playing just with friends. If you're in a friend arena, you should be able to play around with those settings a lot more, almost as if you're in like a training mode, and that could be a lot of fun in its own right. I just think that could be done a lot better. It's very simplistic in Smash Ultimate, which is fine, but I think people are getting really annoyed with that structure and how that arena is set up. I also don't know why you can't have two people playing on the same Switch also play with somebody online. Why does everyone need to pull out their Switch to play multiplayer with one another? If I'm at home with my brother and we're literally on the same couch playing the same game, we should be able to open a friend arena and be able to play on that couch, play each other, and then also be able to play with people online, but that is just not implemented at this time. The next thing I think as a feature that needs to be changed or improved upon is the replay system. Although it is remarkably better than anything that we've seen prior, I think the replay system is still flawed in the fact that you kind of have to sit there and watch the whole match through in order to get the footage that you want. I believe you can fast forward some segments and some portions, but it still takes a minute, and it's just not very responsive with the controller. So I think tuning that up a little bit more and being able to like go in blocks would be much more beneficial to the overall, I guess, software using for recording. They're getting there, it's just not quite perfect yet. And the biggest feature I would like to see implemented within the next Super Smash Bros. Game is actually the random selection for characters. I understand that you can have true random with this, but it would be cool to be able to toggle what characters you want to be randomized, where you can turn certain characters off and on. In Smash Ultimate, you can select what stages you want on and off for if you do random stage select. Why can't you do this with characters? Why can't the roster pop up and you can gray out which characters you don't want? Because honestly, it is kind of annoying where you have a vast roster and you just keep getting characters that you don't want in random. Now, you could also just have house rules when you're with your friends or whatever and be like, alright, when we're playing random, you have to have true random on, meaning all the characters need to be on. Or you could have fun and be like, alright, so you do random, but only set it to your 4 or 5 top best. I think that would be really, really fun. Which leads me to another thing that I just thought of, and that would be Smashdown and special Smash modes online for friends only. So it wouldn't be like a ranking system, there wouldn't be GSP, you couldn't do this with randos, but you could do this with friends. Do a friend arena and then be able to do Smashdown, 3v3, 5v5, the special silly stages. Like I said, having the arena be more of like a playground, a sandbox that you could live in and just kind of mess around with stuff. That could be really good, not only from gameplay standpoint, but from content standpoint as well. But we know Nintendo doesn't really care that much about how we make content from their games. However, I just think this would be really, really fun. My friend and I enjoy the crap out of Smashdown, but we can't play it when he's not here, and the thing is, he lives in the UK. So if he wants to play Smashdown with me, he would quite literally have to do an international flight to be able to sit on my couch and play it with me. And to me, that's just kind of silly. We should be able to have some of these moves accessible with friends online. It's just a little bit more effort Nintendo would have to put in. Do I see it happening? Not really. Would I like to see it? Well, of course. That's why I'm suggesting it. So these are my big features that I would like to see in Super Smash Bros. 7. There are definitely more that will probably come to my head, and maybe I'll do another video on those. But I still want to know, what do you guys think feature-wise they should improve upon or add to Super Smash Bros. 7? Most directors in movies, video games, media in general want to add their own flavor and their own spice to their projects. That's why in a lot of cases you don't have directors jumping onto projects in movies that are already way down the line in production. Most creators want something that is them and embodies their creative passions and vision, and if something's already more than 2/3 of the way done, most of them are going to be very hesitant to jump on it, because then they're basically getting all the critique of that regardless of what they did work on, what they didn't work on, if that makes sense. So I do think when we get a new director for Super Smash Bros. 7, that they're going to want to add their own flavor. They're going to want to put their own design and spin on the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, which is going to be interesting. Obviously, people don't like change, especially with a beloved franchise such as Super Smash Bros. And Sakurai has been so beloved by the community and by fans of Super Smash Bros. And has added so much of his own personality, whether it be in the presentations, the character designs, the representation. He did a lot of that himself. Heck, he pretty much slaved himself away for Melee to get that down in a very quick time, mind you, and that's one of the most beloved Smash Bros. Games of all time. I'm going on a tangent here. Regardless, I don't think Sakurai's coming back, and I think this new director that will eventually be jumping in for his shoes is going to want to do something different with the series, something to differentiate him from Sakurai, and, you know, people are going to hate it. People are going to be so mad and complain, and some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. It's just how it is, right? The internet's very polarizing, and people really hate change, especially with games like this. So that's going to happen regardless. Even if the game is even just slightly different, people are going to go crazy. So what do I think is going to happen with Super Smash Bros. 7 and a new director? Well, only time's really going to tell. If you haven't been watching or keeping up with my Kingdom Hearts videos, I've been kind of breaking down some speculations and stuff for Kingdom Hearts 4, which will be releasing. Well, you know what? If you're curious, please check out that timeline video after you watch this video. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of speculating on the Kingdom Hearts 4 front, and I do it for fun, and I tell everyone when I make those videos to temper their expectations, to just really take everything with a grain of salt. Everything is speculative. I'm not claiming anything, and, you know, our imaginations can kind of get the best of us. That's the same thing that goes here. Everything I'm about to say isn't factual. There's no articles or evidence released about any of this. The only thing we know is that Sakurai is retired, And so what I'm about to say for the rest of this video is just, it's subject to critique and I can be wrong, but if I am right, I'm going to be very happy, and I want you guys to come back to this video, sing my praises, and call me a prophet in the comments down below. And if I'm wrong, then you can roast me and say that this video aged like sour milk. It would be so simple to do an asset flip of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for this new Smash 7 title. And I want to clarify that asset flips are not necessarily bad, especially if it's within the same game franchise and series. It makes the development time a lot shorter, and if it's really just to keep that aesthetic going, then it's fine. Obviously, consumers want some change. The biggest example I can think of is Game Freak's Pokemon. They're always getting critiqued for their modern style of games, circa 2010, for kind of being the same recycled, effortless material, and asset flips are just stuff that they've done in previous games. And I completely understand that. You still want to reinvent the wheel and innovate to another level, such as Tears of the Kingdoms, for example. It is basically an asset flip of Breath of the Wild, but then they enhance the gameplay experience to make it better, and that's all gamers can really ask for these things, and that's what I would like to see with a new installment of Super Smash Bros. I think it's absolutely fine to bring things over and then just refine them and add your own little personal spin and twist to it to make it different from the previous titles. So what do I think they're going to do? I honestly, don't know, because once again, this director could go completely off book and want to completely change the whole style of it and make it a nightmare development hell for the team, but he could also say, hey, let's take what we have and put it over. It's really up in the air at this point. However, I think it would be kind of foolish not to move those movesets over, because that saves a lot of time, especially for the characters that are going to be returning, and then maybe tweak some things here and there, but for the most part, take everything you got from the Switch and move it over to the Switch 2. So that way you have that foundation, that groundwork to work upon, and then add your flavor and your spin to it. Do I want to see all of the same stages that we've been getting in Ultimate? No, I want to see new stages. I want to see brand new stages that we've never seen before. I think it's really cool we got the HD versions of the classic levels, and I think we can have some of those come back over, and I think we can have some Ultimate levels come back over, but I think it's time that we get some brand new stuff. Ultimate was a celebration of the past. It's time to move and put one foot forward into the future. So I would definitely like to see not that many asset flips of stages. Of character movesets, that's a little bit different, and we'll go into that a little bit more once I go over what I think that roster is going to be. But yes, I mean, the models themselves could be moved over with some touch-ups to the moveset and stuff like that. However, I think the biggest thing that the director will most likely want to do is change the single-player experience and change the overall Smash experience. And I'm going to explain what that is. For single-player, we might still have our home run contest, classic mode, the stuff that's been going through the series the entire time. But I really think a new director for this game will want to take a creative twist and spin on the story experience of Super Smash Bros. Either they get rid of it entirely or they add to it. I really hope it's, the latter, not the former. Is that how you say it? The latter is the last one? I don't know. You know what I mean. I want a story experience, and I'm not saying it needs to be Subspace Emissary. Guys, Subspace Emissary was cool when it came out, but it's honestly not anything to write home about. It wasn't that special. Come on. It was fun, yes, and it was different at the time, but we would need something a lot more substance, a lot more creative and fun at this point. We are in 2024, and this game's going to be coming out later, so we need to step it up. We need to just make sure that we get the best experience ever. It would be crazy, and I'm just going to throw this out there because it's not going to happen, but imagine if they took, since it's Nintendo, they had each team from Nintendo that were working on different IPs and different games, their section of the story mode, it would be that gameplay. That would be crazy. You jump in, you're in, Mushroom Kingdom, you're doing a platforming like Mario Wonder, and then you go over, and then, oh wait, you're in Breath of the Wild, so now you have some open world exploration for a little bit, and then you move over, oh, now you're Star Fox and you're flying in space. Move over, now you're first person shooting as Samus Aran from Metroid. Like, that would be crazy and have nothing to do with Smash. And when I say it out loud, is like the biggest fanfic ever written. But that would be so cool to have those elements and then mix in the Smash elements as well somehow, where you would eventually get to a platform part of the stage and fight people the regular Smash way. That's not going to happen, but that creativity and freshness and new experience to a story mode is something I would like to see in Smash 7. Whether or not they do it, completely up in the air. We'll just have to see. But the Smash experience I talked about, that's the key to this. That's the most important, because the fundamentals of Super Smash Bros. Can never change, right? If they do change it, it is really going to ruin the IP. People will still buy the game to test it out of curiosity, but if they change it to something drastically different than what it was, the bones of Smash Bros., they're going to be in trouble, and then that director has failed the series. And that would be, through and through, Super Smash Bros. Is a platform fighter. It started the genre, it has perfected the genre, it has been the best of the genre since its inception, and for them to change it would be a complete abomination and would really, really, really upset me and a lot of other people. So what do I mean by a platform fighter? Well, it's what it is. You fight side by side. It's not like your fighter game with a stamina bar or anything like that. You are still side, it's like a side 3D game, so you're facing, the two-dimensional plane. You're fighting, you're jumping on and off platforms, there's a damage meter, and your goal is to KO your opponent by knocking them off the stage and keeping them from getting back onto the stage. And then you have separate modes, such as stamina and some other fun stuff if you want to throw it in there. But the main core purpose is that you're trying to knock your opponent off the stage. There's platforms in which you can jump up and down on, and you're trying to KO the person. That has to stay the same. If it doesn't, we're in trouble, and then we're just going to be really, really, really upset, and then you're going to start sharpening your pitchforks and lighting your torches, right? So that is the bare bones Smash experience that needs to stay in the DNA of Super Smash Bros. 7. However, you can go in with that and then tweak things to how you want. And it can be for better, it can be for worse. I'm going to use Brawl as a perfect example of this, because Brawl really wanted to push away from the competitive scene in which Melee had developed. Competitive was not in the mind of Sakurai at all. It was not his design philosophy of the game. It was not his end goal. It was not what he was trying to do. He was trying to make a family-friendly party fighting platformer game. Try saying that 5 times fast. And Melee was so perfectly flawed in the sense that there were so many things that you could do to turn it into a competitive type of game that the competitive scene grew from that and made it a spectacle, and people played it for the competitive aspect. And at first, Sakurai refused to embrace that, and so he made Brawl, and Brawl was slower, the designs were grittier, it was clunky, and there were a lot more elements made solely for the party elements, such as items, assist trophies, tripping, all these things. You could still try to have a competitive thing to it, but the experience was nowhere near Melee because it was designed specifically for party fighting, and he was really pushing away from that. Smash 4, we started seeing a turning point. We kind of saw that there was negative reception to Brawl. People did not really like it, even from a casual standpoint as much. And so that's when we started tilting a little bit back towards the competitive side, but it was still not to that level. I mean, we did have Flip for Glory, and people absolutely loved that, but it was still a slower paced game, but it was more competitive friendly than Brawl. Then Ultimate, I think Sakurai had his coming to Jesus moment and realized that it's good to support both sides of the community, the competitive side and the, family-friendly party side. And so he tried to do both, right? He tried to make it balanced enough where everything was working in a way that both sides were satisfied. And that included the gameplay. It wasn't Melee. You couldn't, spot dodge, with short hop. Well, you could short hop, but wave dash, that kind of stuff. Those things were still not in the game. However, he made it so that way it was fast-paced enough, it was tight enough that you could have these competitive events. And he even, I think, went out to a few of the competitive events when promoting Ultimate when it first started. So he kind of had that turning around, coming to Jesus moment, but now, like I said, Sakurai is leaving. So now it's up to the director and with the higher-ups, the executives at Nintendo, want that direction to be for Smash. Are we going to keep going in that neutral ground where you're supporting both of the fighting pro players and the casuals, or are you leaning more towards the casuals? Because I doubt they would lean anywhere near the professionals. It would either be satisfying both or going straight for the casuals, and then we might even, and I hope it doesn't happen, have a Brawl situation again where they're trying to make it more you know, free-for-all Smash Bros. 4+ players on the stage, items going crazy, items everywhere, trying to knock people off. It's fun, but the competitive people will not have anything to work with. Now, do I think the competitive people need to be punished? Listen, I'm not trying to make this political, but it would be kind of ignorant to just ignore the things that have happened in the past with the pro and competitive scene. I'm not saying that everyone that is a pro player, anyone that's done competitive Smash gets put into this category, but obviously the stain and the degeneracy that is a part of the Smash community will never go away. That stigma will stay there till the franchise inevitably dies when the heat destroys the planet, right? Like, that is how it's going to go. No matter what, you can't escape that stink. It is there, it has happened, and people are never going to forget it, right? It's funny how I said stink, because Smash players do smell. Anyway, so there's something to be said there. I don't think everyone is degenerate in the Smash Pro scene. I do think there's still probably some people that need to be held accountable. I still think there's a lot of areas that are very sketchy in that space, which is why I don't really go near that or touch that. But I'm also not a pro Smash player, so that's also a part of it too. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of just say that, so that way you kind of get my stance on it. Like, I'm aware of these situations, but that's not really what this video is about. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows I acknowledge these heinous things that have happened. Some of the things were blown out of proportion, yes, but still, the competitive scene did not make the game look good. It really did hurt the reputation of Smash and Nintendo. And to think about it, when everything was coming out, if you're Sakurai and you see your games trending on Twitter because of these terrible things, like, that's gotta crush your heart. And I think I did a video way back about that too. So it would make sense, and I hope I'm wrong, but it would make sense if Nintendo was like, we kind of want to go away from those people. We don't want to be affiliated with them. Let's make a game that's solely like Mario Party, solely for the family-friendly casuals, so that way the pros just leave it alone, and then they can have our dead game in the water, Ultimate, because this new game will come out, and then they'll leave us alone. I could see that happening, honestly. I don't mean to be that doom and gloom guy, but I could see the game getting slower. I could see, unless you have items and other fun stuff on, it's really hard to KO the person. I could see that happening. I really, really could. I hope I'm wrong, but I could see that happening. It's a little bit too early to say what direction this will go, but I think a lot of those competitive elements that Sakurai kept in Ultimate will inevitably go away. The short hop aerials, short hopping, like, those were actually added to Ultimate. Like, those are features that you can input in the game. It wasn't some like flaw like in Melee that just happened to happen. Like, those could be taken out entirely. You could it's the full hop. Like, you are no longer able to hold down lighter or harder to change the height of your jump. Like, they could do that. They could change dodging as it is. They could change invincibility frames when you grab. They could change frame data. They could do all of that if they really wanted to. Now, I personally, if I was a director or a new director coming in, I would try to honor Sakurai as best as I could. I would try to make the game different enough so it could be my game, but I would definitely still want to keep some of those great elements that worked in Ultimate and previous Smash Bros. Games. And Sakurai paid so much attention to detail with every single character, every single design, every single moveset, every single stage, every single item. He was just very, very passionate about these franchises and about this game. And I just hope the next director comes in with that same type of love and doesn't try too hard to focus on being different than Sakurai. I hope they try to do their own thing, but at the same time still glorify Smash and still try to make everything as great for both the pro and casual fans as possible. This video went on for quite some time. It was more of a philosophical video than it was details and specifics, because there's nothing we can really work on at this time. But I am curious, what do you guys think will happen to this new era of Super Smash Bros? We will be getting a new director, most likely, unless Sakurai comes out of retirement. I want to know your ideas. What do you think that they'll be doing to the game? Do you think I'm in the ballpark where we could go one direction or the other? Do you think that we'll get that story experience that's different from everything else? Do you think it's way too foolish to even think about this stuff until we get more details about a game coming out? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. We're going to be talking about unlocking characters and content in general in Super Smash Bros. I've always loved unlocking content in Super Smash Bros., specifically Melee and Brawl, because it wasn't too difficult to get everything, and it was still fun. I'm talking, I used to delete my save files just to see how fast I could unlock characters and stages again. And that was back in the day where unlocking characters, there were different ways you could do it. You could do 100-man melee, you could go through adventure mode, you can beat, classic mode in a certain time, certain amount of versus matches. All these things were possible, and it made it really fun, and your routes could be very different each time you restart it. However, as the series went on and on and on, they kind of changed that up and made it way more linear, where it was only just versus matches for the most part, to the point where you didn't even unlock any of the stages. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was kind of the end point where I got really frustrated with unlocking content in a Super Smash Bros. Game. Because the roster is so large, you would think they would make it very quick to unlock characters. And I actually love the idea that the starting roster for Ultimate is the original OG characters from the Nintendo 64. However, unlocking these characters is an absolute pain. Yes, you could grind Classic Mode, or go and beat World of Light, or even just do a bunch of versus matches, but there was no special or creative ways to unlock these characters. In addition, there was a 5 to 10 minute buffer in between each unlock of a character, where if you didn't soft reset your game, you would have to wait that long to unlock the next character. And like I said, this roster is ginormous. You have over 30 characters to unlock, so it's just going to take a lot of time. And when you want to reset and do it again, it's just not fun. Trust me. I've accidentally deleted my file, or something's happened where I had to unlock all the characters again, and it becomes more and more of a chore. Yes, there are ways where you do like 20 minutes and you just run back and forth on a stage for 20 minutes and then just keep soft resetting your Switch and stuff, but like, come on, that is not nearly as fun as how you could unlock all the different characters in Melee. Am I the only one that thinks this? Maybe. Let me know down in the comments if I'm just insane. However, you could also unlock stages in Melee and in Brawl. I can't remember if you could in Smash 3DS and Wii U, but especially those games, the more you played, the more levels you unlock. And yes, some stages were really annoying to unlock, but there were some where you had to do very unique things, such as Yoshi's Story in the classic 64 version for Melee. And I really liked this. It added a challenge, but it also added some extra secrets to the game. In Ultimate, you just have everything, and it's HD, remake, glory. And in one side, it's really nice, right? It is good to have all those accessible, especially if you have a favorite stage and you just want to play that one all the time. However, it would have been nice to unlock stages. I really think this would have been a nice little feature to add. Am I in the minority? Maybe, but I just really miss doing that. So what I really hope is that in Super Smash Bros. 7, we will get a very back to square one, if you will, unlocking system, where if I want to unlock a character, I could have 2, 3, 4 different ways to unlock them. There isn't a buffer in between unlocking characters, and also I want stages to be unlockable again. Now, there are some unlockables that I think were really questionable. Like in Melee, you could unlock additional rule setting once you got all the stages or something, which will let you change like the random order of stages and stuff like that. And it makes sense because they don't want you to be able to do that when you don't have all the stages yet. But they have the technology now, and everything's advanced so much that even if you don't have all the stages unlocked, you should be able to change the settings for the random stages, even if you don't have all of them. I'm getting a little bit winded here, but I just can't emphasize enough how fun it is to sit there and just have the alert screen go off as a new character silhouette pops up on screen. You're playing with your friends and a notification pops up revealing that you've unlocked the new stage that you had no idea was even in the game. A lot of secrets and stuff are easily revealed and spoiled very early on in a new game being released, but it would be nice to be able to just unplug from the internet for a few days when the next Smash Bros. Game comes out and just see what it has to offer. But they might not do this. They might even go the complete opposite direction and have no unlockable content in the game, and everything's just right there from the jump, and you just need to pay money to get extra stuff, DLC stages, DLC characters, and just do the fighter pass altogether. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a terrible idea if the value is good enough, but we can't tell at this particular time. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Do you like the unlock system in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or do you think the ones back when it was like Melee and Brawl were a lot better? Do you want to see unlockable content come back for the next Super Smash Bros. Game? Or would you like how I just said, where everything's unlocked and then just the new stuff is behind a paywall and you just have to buy a fighter pass or whatever? This will be the characters that I think are staying in from the previous installment, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and then I will follow up this part with the characters that I think are going to be added in along with some DLC, because they're going to do that again. It just makes a lot of money, and it just makes sense for them to do it that way, because it keeps the lifespan of the game going with trailers, announcements, hype, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to look at this roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, the biggest thing that I was thinking was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's whole concept was everyone is here. That's what made it special. So I really sat there and thought, well, are they going to bring everyone back for the next game? This roster is already massive. And although I do think that they're going to keep Echo Fighters in, I do not think they're going to be keeping every character, especially the older ones that were really only brought back for the sake of Ultimates. Everybody is back. So we're going to go in order of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster, along with the order of the games, because that's how it goes. If you didn't know, this order goes by Nintendo 64, Melee, Brawl, and then Smash 4 and Smash Wii U. So first we have the 64, the Smash 64 characters. They're all coming back. They're grandfathered in at this point. These are the ones that we're getting, along with the Echo Fighter, Dark, Samus. Now, whether or not movesets or looks will change is up for debate, but I think this is basically the standing roster that we're always going to get. I'm hoping Luigi has more Luigi Mansion style moves, and I hope they really rework Mario's moveset to do something different with the character. Perhaps something regarding Mario Wonder. We'll have to see. Then we have the Melee characters. I don't think Sheik is returning. I think that they are done with the character now that Zelda can't even change into Sheik. I think they will replace Sheik with a different Zelda character. I don't think Dr. Mario or Pichu are returning. They were basically in because everyone else was added back into the game. Pichu was super strong and broken at the beginning of Ultimate's lifespan, but has since been nerfed, and it's just really not, a vital character to use, whereas Dr. Mario is so slow and just so clunky in comparison to Mario. They're probably going to want to put in a different spot for a Mario character. Young Link as well. We have enough versions of Link in the game that I think they're ready to move on from that, especially since Link has gotten a rework for Breath of the Wild. And then Mewtwo is not here, and Roy. Roy is kind of out. He's no longer really that relevant in the Fire Emblem series to my knowledge, and so I think it's time. I know a lot of people are going to be upset, but I do think it's time to add in more different, diverse Final Fantasy characters. I said Final Fantasy. Different, diverse Fire Emblem characters. Chrom is going to stay in. He was basically the echo of Roy, but he can now be the replacement for Roy because of his relevancy in Fire Emblem. For Brawl, we have a few people that I don't think will be returning. Solid Snake was really difficult to get into the game to begin with, so I think he is out. Pokemon Trainer, they're fun to play as, but I think their Pokemon are so old that they might want to shuffle out the roster for the Pokemon characters for more modern and relevant ones. Toon Link, like I said, we had so many versions of Link. I think they're really going to try and push out some more different, diverse Zelda characters instead of having 3 different Link versions. Wolf is no longer going to be added either because, come on, who really plays Wolf? We're fine with the clone of Falco and Fox and just leaving it at. Next, we have the Smash 4 and Smash 3DS characters. I think they're all coming back. I think they're all relevant. I think they're all fresh, and they did a really good job diversifying that roster with a bunch of different characters. So I think we're all set for the Smash 4 and Smash 3DS characters, along with the newcomers for Smash Ultimate. They just got in. A lot of people like their additions, such as Inkling, Ridley, Simon, K. Rool, Isabelle, and Incineroar. So I also think that they will be making a return. Now, I was sitting on the DLC characters for a while. In Smash history, the DLC characters have made a return in some grand shape or form. So first I looked at the Fighter Pass and was thinking of the Nintendo characters at least. Nintendo DLC will return. Piranha Plant, Byleth, Min Min, unfortunately, Pyramithra, and they're not DLC, but I just had them at the end here, the Mii characters. So I do think these are all making a return, so that warrants the question, what about some of these other third-party DLC characters? And I think that we're definitely going to be getting Joker, Hero, Banjo, and Terry back. They're iconic characters of their series, and they just are a staple of the DLC. In addition, I think we are getting Steve, Sephiroth, and the rest of the cast back as well. I basically do not think we are losing any of these characters that we got for DLC. I could be wrong, but it just seems to make sense to have them in for the next one. And I actually want to go back and bring Mewtwo back. He's so iconic. I think if you're going to have any of the generation of Pokemon in, you can get rid of Pokemon Trainer and keep Mewtwo in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Mewtwo is back. Sorry for pulling your leg the entire time. So this is my guess of the roster of what's going to be in the next Smash game. It only cut down 8 characters. So Roy, Sheik, Dr. Mario, Pichu, Young Link, Pokemon Trainer, Snake, Wolf, and Toon Link. I actually don't think I cut down enough, but what do you guys think? Do you think this is an appropriate main starting roster for Super Smash Bros. 7? Do you think I need to cut down more? Do you think none of these characters are going to be cut from the next game? We're just going to get an even bigger roster. Let me know down in the comments. We are going to be discussing the new additions that I think are going to be in the next Super Smash Bros. Game. Last video, we made some cuts. Now we're going to add some people in. This is purely speculation. There's no inside scoops or anything like that. We don't even know where in development the game is yet. And I'm basically doing patterns. I'm using pattern recognition and some, characters that people have wanted in for a while to kind of form this list. It's in no particular order, and the way I put it up on screen in the little tiles and panels is just to make it look nice. That's all it is. It's not that special, guys. So first, we have a Skyward Sword representation from Zelda, Gyrium. They've been an assist trophy in previous Smash Bros. Titles, but now it's their time to shine. I think they would be a very interesting pick as a replacement for Sheik, because you still have those ninja-like elements there. Next, we have Geno from Super Mario RPG. Geno has been requested for years and years and years, and they just remade Super Mario RPG, so it would be perfect to have him in as an actual fighter and not just a Mii fighter outfit. Next, we have Tinkaton, a Gen 9 Pokemon that wields a hammer. I think this would fit really well into Smash Bros. Because we would finally get a Pokemon with a weapon that's not just, shooting out something like lightning or water or anything like that. Next, we have another Zelda character, this one from Majora's Mask. We have Skull Kid. Skull Kid is an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but a lot of fans really wanted him in the game as an actual fighter, so I have him here for those fans, and maybe we'll get to see him show up in the next installment more than an assist trophy. Next, we have Alear from Fire Emblem Engage. Yes, I know, we already have a ton of Fire Emblem characters, and a lot of people are tired of seeing Fire Emblem in Smash, but it's a popular Nintendo game. It's getting more and more popular. They're sword fighters, so they're easy to translate and develop into the game, so it only makes sense. I have Chrom staying in replacement for Roy, but Roy has been cut, so we're going to go ahead and put Alear where Roy was going to be. So it's really not even adding another Fire Emblem character in, because it's just replacing one that was taken out. Next, we have Lara Croft. I think since Solid Snake it will probably not be returning, and the reasons for that I mentioned in the previous video, I think Lara Croft would be an appropriate replacement because she's very iconic in the video game world, franchise, history, whatever you want to call it, and she's third party, so I just think it would be a really good fit in replace of Solid Snake. Next, we have Dixie Kong. Dixie Kong would basically just be an Echo Fighter for Diddy Kong, but I do think Echo Fighters will be returning, so Dixie Kong is there. Next, we have a villain. I think the villain roster needs to be bloated up some more for this next Smash Bros. Game. I have Dr. Eggman. I think he would be an amazing addition to Smash Bros. I have a video on a potential moveset for Dr. Eggman that I don't think is realistic for Smash Bros, but I think is very creative, and I definitely encourage you to check that out after this video. Another Echo Fighter we have is Octoling. This would be an Echo Fighter to Inkling. It would be a very easy implementation, and it would basically have Splatoon be represented through and through because it is a very popular franchise in Nintendo history. Next, we have Paper Mario. Yes, I do think Paper Mario will be making a debut in the next Smash Bros. Game. A very wanted character, and the moveset potential could be really fun and creative. He could definitely be like Game & Watch, where he is just two-dimensional. He has no axis, and I think it'll be really cool to have more flat character representation in these games. Next, we have another Pokemon, and that will be a Gen 8 Pokemon, Scorbunny. Scorbunny just has that look where you could just be a fighter that uses your feet mostly and fire abilities. So I just think it would just fit really well into this game. Next is a goofy one. Sakurai likes to add goofy characters in all the time just to kind of trigger everybody. And I know Sakurai is no longer a part of the Smash Bros. Franchise. He has retired, and we said that we will probably be getting a new direction. So the character lineup might be vastly different than what I'm saying, but I think they kind of want to keep his spirit, at least for this next one. So they're going to add another wacky Mario character, and that would be Paratrooper. I think Paratrooper would be quite fun to play as in Smash Bros. The aerials and the recovery would be absolutely insane, but everything else would be, balanced in that sense. And I just think it would be cool to see another enemy type from the Mario franchise enter the ring, such as Paratrooper, kind of like Piranha Plant. Next is, shocker, another Zelda character, but this will be the last one, I promise, and that is Impa, but the younger version from Breath of the Wild. I think this would be a very good addition to the game. We have some more female representation. Once again, I don't really know the Zelda franchise that much, which is surprising that I keep choosing Zelda characters, but it seems like that franchise is on an upward trend, especially with the popularity of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, so I can definitely see them leaning a little bit heavier into Zelda representation for this next generation of Smash Bros. Then I have another Fire Emblem character. I know this isn't great, this isn't what you want to hear, but this is the most realistic I think we're going to get with a roster pick. I have Garon, who's from Fire Emblem Fates. I know he looks very similar to Ganondorf with like the black and the purple, but we need some more of that villain representation, like I said earlier, and I think Garon would be a good fit in that regard. You could replace him with any Fire Emblem character, or villain, I should say, that you want if you don't like this pick. Next is another Echo Fighter, which would be for Donkey Kong, Funky Kong. He would play basically just like Donkey Kong, except he would be funky. Now, you could also argue that DK could just have an alt skin that turns him into Funky Kong, but I think people love this character too much for it just to be an alt switch. Next is another Echo Fighter, so it's basically just Fire Emblem, Zelda characters, and Echo Fighters. Isn't that great? Aren't you guys going to be so excited for this next game? I have Shadow the Hedgehog. It's just a perfect fit. You already have Sonic in there. We've wanted Shadow for a while now. Let's get him out of being an assist trophy and put him in as an actual fighter in the game. His moveset would be very similar to Sonic Battle for the Game Boy Advance. It would be very, very fun to have him similar to Sonic, but have a few different tricks up his sleeve. Next, we have a classic fighter. There's always a classic fighter added into each game of Smash Bros. So this one is going to be Excite Bike. I don't know how they would really put this into the game, how that moveset would look, but they could do it, and I think it'd be very cool to have Excite Bike enter the fray. Next, I have Master Chief from Halo, one of the biggest franchises in video game history. It might not be on the uppity up for now. It might have some hiccups here and there, but it's a very known IP. And Microsoft is already in Smash Bros. With Steve, so it makes sense. And actually Banjo as well. He's technically Xbox now. So it would be an easy integration to have Master Chief in the game. Along in that same vein, Microsoft now owns Activision. So that means they have the rights to Crash Bandicoot. I think out of everyone in this list, out of all the speculations, I think Crash is the number one, 100% getting into the next Smash Bros. Because they don't really know what to do with him over at Microsoft right now anyway, and it's just a perfect tonal fit and look for him to be in Smash Bros. And I would be very excited to see him spin his way in. The last two are iconic fighters from another fighting game series, Mortal Kombat. It is interesting we do not have Mortal Kombat in yet, but we do have Tekken, and we also have King of Fighters. So now it's time to add Scorpion and his Echo Fighter Sub-Zero as the last two fighters I have here to be on this list. I think there will be more, and then there'll probably be DLC, but this is my list. What do you guys think down in the comments below? I know most of these are assist trophies turned characters, and then Echo Fighters, and then Zelda characters, and then Fire Emblem characters. I think that's the pattern we're going to go in. Like I said, Sakurai's probably not going to be leading this one, so there will definitely be an open window for different things to change. But this looks like the safest way to add more characters without it being such a big, heavy lift for adding, more designs and stuff like that. I want to know your guys' opinion down in the comments. I personally would be okay with this. I'd be more so excited that I got everything right than anything, but I would like to see other characters than this. This is not my wish list, but I'm not making that kind of video right now. Already, we've gone over if there will be a Super Smash Bros. 7, and from there, we kind of went on the preface that Sakurai would not be returning. He would stay in retirement. And building off that foundation, we talked about the features that need fixing for the next Super Smash Bros. Game, followed by the new direction that it'll most likely take, then how to unlock said content for the new game, following up with returning characters for the roster, new characters, and now we are here. We're going to be talking about the title of what this next Super Smash Bros. Game could be called. A reminder, I don't have any evidence for this. This is all speculative. It's just fun, theorizing, brain thought project, whatever you want to call it, that I'm kind of just spewing out from my cranium. So Super Smash Bros. 7, I don't think it's going to be called that. It just sounds weird. If they're doing numbers in any other titles, it would be like 10 Super Smash Bros. X. So no, Super Smash Bros. 7, I don't think so. Then we have Super Smash Bros. Switch. This would be very confusing because Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is for the Switch. So if you went into like a GameStop and it's like, oh hey, can I have Super Smash Bros. For the Switch? They're gonna be like, do you want Ultimate or Super Smash Bros. Switch? So it would be way too confusing. It just wouldn't be possible. Super Smash Bros. Fight. It's okay. I'll be honest with you. I took the word fight, I highlighted it, and then I just had the synonyms. And so they're going to be on here, the synonyms for fight, besides Brawl and Melee, because they've already been used as Super Smash Bros. Titles. But Super Smash Bros. Fight, no, that's lame. It's not happening. Super Smash Bros. Clash, it's a little bit better, but it's definitely not great. Super Smash Bros. Quarrel, it's so hard to say. Quarrel. Who wants to play Super Smash Bros. Quarrel? Hey man, you play Quarrel? Like, it's too much of an effort. No. Super Smash Bros. Tussle. I put Tussle because the event matches in Super Smash Bros. Melee, you have trophy tussles. But once again, it's just weird. Hey man, you want to play Tussle? Like, no. It's not. We got Super Smash Bros. Arena. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. Super Smash Bros. Arena. Okay, cool. Super Smash Bros. Supreme. I'm laughing because it sounds like it's a thing from Taco Bell, something from their menu. Like Super Smash Bros. Supreme. Too many S's in my opinion. Super Smash Bros. Extreme. It's a little bold. Usually it's a little bit more subtle with the Smash Bros. Titles, so I don't think Extreme is a good fit. Super Smash Bros. Mega. It doesn't work. I don't see it. Super Smash Bros. Legends, that could be a possibility actually. Super Smash Bros. Legends doesn't sound too bad. Super Smash Bros. Turbo, that doesn't even make any sense. I don't even know why I put that on there. Super Smash Bros. Okay, so a lot of games recently, like after a bunch of their franchise has been out, they've been going right back to the main title. For example, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, we already had a Modern Warfare 2, etc., but they just came out with Modern Warfare again. So they could just go back to just regular Super Smash Bros. Because the original Super Smash Bros. Is for the 64, that was a long time ago. However, it seems to me like it would be, once again, confusing if you go into a GameStop store and say, can I get Super Smash Bros? They're going to be like, which one? Brawl, Melee, Ultimate. Like, it would be too confusing. New Super Smash Bros. They could do the new Super Mario route and just add new to the front of the title. I honestly could see them doing this, but it would enrage a lot of people and it would provide a lot of memes. So let's hope not. Super Smash Bros. Legacy. Yeah, this is the one. I think Super Smash Bros. Legacy has the biggest shot out of all of this. Either Super Smash Bros. Legacy or Super Smash Bros. Legends. Those are the only two that really stand out to me, and I really think Legacy it fits perfectly because you have all these, iconic video game characters that aren't even always Nintendo anymore because you have a lot of third-party reps now too, coming together, duking it out. Super Smash Bros. Legacy just sounds badass, and I think it's a high possibility that this could be the title for the next Super Smash Bros. Installment. So that is going to wrap up this video. What do you guys think? Be sure to comment below on whether or not you think that any of these are even close to being the title. If you thought that something else that I put that said doesn't have a chance actually has more of a chance. If you have your very own title, I would love to read it in the comments. But I am curious, what do you guys think will happen to this new era of Super Smash Bros? We will be getting a new director, most likely, unless Sakurai comes out of retirement. I want to know your ideas. What do you think that they'll be doing to the game? Do you think I'm in the ballpark where we could go one direction or the other? Do you think that we'll get that story experience that's different from everything else? Do you think it's way too foolish to even think about this stuff until we get more details about a game coming out? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. We've talked about if there was going to be another Super Smash Bros. We talked about whether or not Sakurai would return to direct. We've talked about the fixes that need to happen, the new features that need to be added, the characters that would return, new characters that would be added in. We've talked about what the title for the next Super Smash Bros. Game would be, and now we are talking about when potentially Super Smash Bros. 7 will release. That's right, you heard me. Super Smash Bros. 7, because every time people keep saying, no, it's Super Smash Bros. 6, and I have to re-educate them and say that 3DS and Wii U are separate games. Sakurai said so, and they're different because their stages are different, so it is Super Smash Bros. 7. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so what I did was I looked back at all the trailers, at all the announcements for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and are using that as a pattern to figure out maybe a timeline, if you will, for when this new Smash Bros. Will get released. It's all speculative. It's all just pattern recognition like I normally do for these sort of things, but I thought it'd be fun to discuss in today's video. The Nintendo Switch released in March of 2017. Then in March 2018, a year later, they teased Super Smash Bros. Ultimate but did not give it a full title. This was the announcement trailer where they had the Inklings running around during a Nintendo Direct, and then they look up and you see the flaming Smash Bros. Logo, and then it says Super Smash Bros. But Ultimate wasn't yet in the title. So from there, a lot of people thought this was just going to be a glorified Wii U port. Everyone thought it was going to be Super Smash Bros. Wii U, but with some extra characters in there. But then later in the year, around June, that completely shattered anyone's beliefs because there was the Everyone Is Here trailer in which they announced that it's not only Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as the title, but everyone was coming back for this game. It was huge. The hype was crazy. And then fast forward all the way to December 2018, we got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So that is the timeline. In there as well were a bunch of like Smash Directs and Sakurai talking about stuff, Nintendo Directs revealing things as we got up to it, reveal trailers for new characters such as Ridley, K. Rool, that sort of thing. But I think for this game, especially the new Super Smash Bros. Game we're getting, Smash 7, they're probably going to dial that back a little bit. Not only is Smash already a hype game and can sell copies without doing a big marketing push, but also because now that Sakurai isn't going to be directing it, most likely, he's not going to be the face of it. And he had that personal energy, and people recognized him when he did these directs. And it's just going to be weird if it's not him. So I don't think they're going to be doing as many Smash Directs as they did prior. That's just my theory. In addition, right before Ultimate's release, they did a huge tour with like a bus and the game, having people able to play the game early. They even had like a Smash tournament which was back when our good friend, and that's ironic. I'm joking. Zero was the winner of that tournament back when he was still relevant. This was all before the big blow up with the competitive Smash scene and the allegations and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't think they're doing another tournament. I really think they're just kind of trying to bury that. Nintendo's trying to be like, no, we don't want to be affiliated with any of that stuff. And I really don't blame them because it's just a PR nightmare. So I really think it's going to be a softer marketing push and launch for this game. I don't think there's going to be as much generated hype on Nintendo's side for it, but I do think we're going to get that 6 to 8 month window before the game comes out. So we're going to get an announcement, and then 6 to 8 months later, we'll actually get the game. I could be wrong. It could be a shadow drop. It could drop with as a launch title for the Switch 2, which would be absolutely insane. But I don't see that happening. I think it's better to generate at least a little bit of hype for a game like this before just like launching it day one, frame one. So what about the Switch 2? The Switch 2 hasn't even came out yet. So how are we supposed to know when Smash 7 is going to come out? Well, like I said, through the patterns, the Switch, the original Switch 1, released in March of 2017. There's already been leaks and reports that Nintendo is planning to release the Nintendo Switch 2, not actually called that, but we're just calling that for the sake, Nintendo Switch 2 in Q1 of the next fiscal year, 2025. So what is Q1 2025? Well, that's January 2025 to March 2025. You hear where I'm going with this? I think they're probably just going to launch the Switch 2 at the very end in March 2025. It makes sense. Why would you launch it right after Christmas? Like right in like January, February. I don't think that's optimal. But if you sell it right before we kick off into the summer, like they did prior, it just makes perfect sense. So I really think March 2025 is when we're getting this beloved Switch 2. And from there, I think we're going to have to wait a little bit. I don't think they're just going to immediately drop it. I don't think they're going to immediately drop too much information when this platform comes out. I think a big reveal will probably be that Metroid Prime 4 will be releasing for the regular Switch and Switch 2. A lot of people have commented that during the Nintendo Direct, where they were showing off Metroid Prime 4, it was like, this looks way too good to be running on Switch. So that's a running theory, is that might actually be one of the launch titles for Switch 2. We'll have to see. That could be completely wrong, but I'm getting a little bit off track here. I don't see a Smash Bros. Game being announced right off the jump in March 2025. I would like to be proven wrong, but I just don't see it. I can see them teasing it a little bit later down the road, and then that 6 to 8 month gap in between, and then we finally get the game. I'm going to guess a year after Switch 2 comes out. My prediction is actually going to be March 2026. I think that's going to be when we get it, because December 2025 just seems way too much of a quick turnaround. Don't get me wrong, I would absolutely love that, but we don't really know where they are with the game yet. I'm sure it's in production already, but you got to think optimally in the logistics behind revealing it too early, too soon. Once again, it would be crazy if it was like a shadow drop right with the Switch 2's release, but I really can't see that happening unless it's just Smash Ultimate version 2, which would be really irritating if they just release Smash Ultimate again, but then you just get more DLC characters. That would be kind of crazy. Maybe they do. Everyone was talking about the like Deluxe or Ultimate Edition, where you just get all the DLC for free in a package. Maybe they release that with Switch 2, and then a year later they give us Smash 7. I don't know. That's a lot of speculative talk there. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think that we're getting Smash 7 in 2025 or 2026? What date do you think? I really am curious how they're going to market this game, because, like I said, Sakurai's out of the picture. So there's not as much charm and magic behind it as it used to be. They might still do Smash Directs, but I'm kind of leaning towards them not, and just trickling out information through Nintendo Directs and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll just have to see. No doubt they'll release reveal trailers for new additions to the game that aren't DLC characters, and I will definitely see them doing DLC characters again. It's such a good marketing strategy It keeps people engaged with the game for longer than a year, and it generates hype, so I don't see that going away. But we might be seeing some major changes in the game because, like I keep reiterating, it's a completely different director most likely. So we're going to be getting a different feeling Smash Bros. Game, and I think this is going to be the one that really divides the fan base. I know Brawl was kind of the start of that, but I really think this next Smash Bros. Game, it's either going to make or break for a lot of Smash fans. So throughout the Super Smash Bros. Series, Sakurai has masterfully put together movesets for Nintendo characters and also third-party characters within the franchise. However, it would be very understanding to mention that some movesets look pretty copy-paste and don't really make sense for the characters. I know there's been tons of content creators and videos out there in regard to theorizing or coming up with creative new movesets for some of these characters. I'm not doing that in this video. I know that there was a comment in my last video about final smashes. I might do that if enough of you want to see it. Let me know down in the comments. This video is just going to be a generic overview of what characters I think in the next Smash Bros. Game could do with a proper retool. And it's surprisingly not that many for the returning characters, that is. We will probably definitely get new characters with new movesets, but this is the ones that we have so far from Smash Ultimate. So here is the complete roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and here are the characters that I think need a retool. Like I said, it's not that many. It's a handful, really. Mario, Link, Kirby, Peach, Sonic, Wario, Cloud, Banjo and Kazooie, and the Wii Fighters. I think the character that most likely needs the biggest rework is actually the face of Nintendo himself, Mario. He has a very basic moveset in Smash Ultimate, and it, for the most part, has not been changed since his original inception in Super Smash Bros. 64. He's had a few changes here and there, but nothing drastic that really differentiates any parts of the Mario franchise within his moveset like some other characters. He's been around for over 20 years. It would be nice to have a moveset that kind of encapsulates a bunch of different games that he's been in, which is a lot, easier said than done, but it's just something to imagine. And I know there's been tons of channels out there that have, theorized what a moveset could be for Mario. I'm just talking about the basic specials that he has being changed. Sure, he has his regular punch kick, his up airs, his down airs, and stuff like that. That can be nuanced and changed a little bit to like ground pounds and stuff like that. However, his specials are very interesting to me. Yes, neutral special being a fireball makes sense, but cape for side B? We can't do anything different there. Why can't it be like Cappy? We have Cappy as a taunt, but that's not really anything integral to the moveset itself, and we need some Mario Odyssey representation. Down special being Flood makes perfect sense. I think we can keep that, and his up special where he does his fist in the air with the coins coming out is near perfection. It's just these small little nuances I think we could try to add in to make Mario seem more distinct as a character. Like I said, he's had so many different titles now, it would be great to have a different moveset for the next Smash game. In Ultimate, Link has had a change, both cosmetically looking like his Breath of the Wild form, but also having some new stuff in his moveset. But they could definitely do a lot more, especially since Tears of the Kingdom has been out and added even new mechanics to the Zelda franchise, such as building, vehicles and other things like that. Link having a glider for starters would be absolutely great, and having different runes that he can use for special abilities, more similar to like Shulk, where you have like a wheel almost to pick different things. Also, in the Breath of the Wild series, you have different weapon types that do different properties, different elemental attacks, which could be for different smash attacks and the sort. Once again, there are so many people out there that have way better ideas than me. I am not a huge Zelda fanatic, so I can't really give examples, but Link is definitely one that I think they need to make him seem more like his newer versions than his old Smash versions. At this point, I'm kind of sounding like a broken record, but it's really these older characters that have been in Smash since the beginning that need this rework, such as Kirby. Kirby has a very basic moveset by design. Sakurai did a great job of making the characters play sort of how they do in their respective games, and Kirby is supposed to be a very basic beginner type game and also character in Smash Bros. So his inhale copy ability, absolutely fine. Maybe even his down smash works, but he's been in so many different games with so many different abilities from his own series, it would be nice to be able to use those in his moveset. His side B seems kind of old, even his dash attack, his down airs, his down specials, his up specials. I know they have a special place in people's hearts as Kirby mains, but it's time that this character gets a rework, along with Peach. Peach just got a new solo game in which she has different abilities through different stages that she's performing on, and it would just make for a very diverse type of moveset. But then Daisy could have the old moveset that Peach had, so she wouldn't really be an Echo character anymore. She would be her own character, and it would be very nice and nuanced in that way. Next, we have Wario. Wario, his moveset just doesn't make sense. Honestly, he comes from a game where there's a bunch of quirky mini games, and I know they're different characters for those mini games, but there needs to be more style and more pizzazz and goofiness with this character. The only thing I really think he needs to keep is his motorcycle and his fart. Everything else can be changed. He's kind of a boring character at this point. Speaking of boring characters, Sonic. He has so much potential to do so many different things, and they still really just made him turn into a ball. His homing attack and his spin dash, I get that they're like his iconic, attack. Yes, punching and kicking makes sense, but what about his light ring dash? What about his new abilities from Sonic Frontiers? Add some more flair to this character, please. As a Sonic fan, I really, really would like to see this character get a rework done. Next is a very nitpicky rework that I don't think really needs to happen, but I just have it on here, and that is Cloud Strife. Now, I'm not going to try to pretend like I know much about Final Fantasy. I've basically just been watching my brother from time to time play through the newest one, Rebirth. However, I did notice that Cloud has a grappling hook, which my brother also said he had in the remake version, the one before Rebirth. So I don't know why this isn't a recovery ability for him, because his current recovery sucks major ass. In addition, I think that his limit forms are cool, but he has way more abilities and stylized attacks in the game. It would be cool if you could have a menu system and choose which ones you want once limit form is active. I know this is more similar and akin to Hero, but I mean, they're from the same company, so it's not too far off. And I just would like to see something in that nature. Is it going to happen? I kind of doubt it, but I just had to put it out there. The DLC characters were handled pretty well, but there was one that a lot of people weren't happy with, and that was no other than Banjo and Kazooie. I don't know what they were cooking or not cooking in this sense. I don't even know that much about Banjo and Kazooie lore, but I know you can transform into different things. There's a lot of platforming, a lot of fun, goofy power-ups, and they didn't put really any of that in. And I am a Banjo main. I play Banjo, and I spam the ever-living fuck out of side B, but even I know that shit is cheese. So yeah, Banjo would need a rework if he came back into Smash. And then last but not least, is more of just kind of like, is the Mii fighters. Mii Brawler, Mii Sword Fighter, Mii Gunner. They're very cool. I like that you have 3 different options for each of their movesets and specials, but let's add something unique to these characters, or even more unique than we've had before. Maybe still have these options in the next game, but add 2, maybe 3 more moveset options to really switch things up. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Like I said, if you want me to do a more elaborate breakdown of these potential movesets, let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on if you think any more characters need a retool before the next Super Smash Bros. Game. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a smash-tastic rest of your day. See ya.